Welcome to Iraqi Dinar News, where you receive real and authentic updates about the Iraqi dinar. If you want to stay informed with moment-by-moment developments, make sure to subscribe to the channel and like the video. In today's update, we're taking a careful and professional look at a long-discussed topic in Iraq's monetary policy, the idea of removing zeros from the currency, and how recent political developments, including the extended election process in 2025, may be influencing expectations around the Iraqi dinar. Let's begin by putting this discussion into proper context. The concept of removing zeros from Iraq's currency is not new. In fact, it has been under consideration by Iraqi policymakers for well over a decade. This policy is often misunderstood, so it's important to clarify what it actually means. Removing zeros, in most cases, refers to a redenomination process. This is when a country restructures its currency by introducing new banknotes with lower nominal values, effectively simplifying transactions and improving accounting efficiency. It does not automatically mean an increase in real purchasing power or a sudden gain in value for holders of the currency. Over the past 15 years, Iraq has periodically revisited this proposal as part of broader economic reform efforts. These efforts have been tied to goals such as stabilizing inflation, modernizing the banking system, reducing reliance on cash transactions, and improving public confidence in the national currency. However, despite repeated discussions, implementation has consistently been delayed. Now, according to the latest narrative referenced in your provided paragraph, there was renewed momentum around this idea in late 2025. Reports and discussions appeared across various news channels, suggesting that Iraq might be approaching a stage where monetary reform, including potential redenomination, could be reconsidered. For observers and followers of the Iraqi dinar, this naturally led to increased attention and speculation. However, it's essential to approach such developments with a grounded perspective. Economic reforms of this magnitude do not happen in isolation. They depend heavily on political stability, institutional readiness, and macroeconomic conditions. This brings us to the second part of the discussion, the impact of the 2025 election cycle and the claim that political interference has slowed down progress. Elections in any country can introduce uncertainty, and Iraq is no exception. The process of forming a government, resolving disputes, and establishing a clear policy direction can take time, particularly in a complex political environment. When elections are prolonged or contested, it can delay major economic decisions, including monetary reforms. Investors and international partners typically look for stability and continuity before supporting significant policy shifts. The mention of external interference, particularly from regional actors, is a sensitive and complex issue. While geopolitical influences in Iraq are widely discussed in international analysis, it is important to rely on verified information and avoid drawing firm conclusions without credible evidence. What can be said with confidence is that political uncertainty, regardless of its source, can slow down reform processes. This includes delays in legislation, hesitation in central bank actions, and reduced investor confidence. From a financial analysis standpoint, the key takeaway is that currency reform, including any plan to remove zeros, requires a stable political and economic environment. Central banks do not implement such changes during periods of uncertainty because it could undermine the effectiveness of the reform and create confusion in the market. Let's now examine what this means for followers of the Iraqi dinar, in both the short term and the long term. In the short term, the ongoing political process likely means that significant monetary policy changes will remain on hold. The Central Bank of Iraq typically prioritizes stability, and during uncertain periods, maintaining the status quo is often the safest course of action. This includes managing exchange rates, controlling inflation, and ensuring liquidity in the banking system. Any major shift such as redenomination or restructuring of the currency, would likely be postponed until there is a clear and stable government in place. Additionally, it's important to understand that rumors or expectations of a rapid revaluation, often referred to as an RV, are not supported by standard economic practices. Currency values are influenced by factors such as economic output, foreign reserves, trade balances, and monetary policy, not sudden announcements or isolated events. While Iraq has made progress in areas like oil production and fiscal management, these improvements translate into gradual economic strengthening rather than immediate currency revaluation. In the long term, however, the discussion around removing zeros does indicate that Iraq continues to consider structural reforms. If and when political stability is achieved, and if economic indicators remain favorable, the government and central bank may revisit this policy as part of a broader modernization effort. This could include updating the currency system, improving banking infrastructure, and encouraging digital payments. For long-term observers, this suggests that Iraq is still on a path toward economic normalization, but progress is incremental. The country's heavy reliance on oil revenues, the need for diversification, and ongoing institutional reforms all play a role in shaping its monetary policy decisions. Another important factor to consider is public confidence. Any successful currency reform requires trust from citizens and businesses. If people are uncertain about the value of their money or the stability of the system, it can lead to unintended consequences, such as hoarding foreign currency or avoiding the banking system altogether. This is why central banks move cautiously and ensure that all necessary conditions are in place before making major changes. From an analytical perspective, the idea that a specific moment in 2025 represented a missed opportunity for a major currency shift is speculative. Economic reforms are not typically dependent on a single window of time. Instead, they are the result of sustained progress across multiple areas. While political events can influence timing, they do not fundamentally alter the underlying economic realities. It's also worth noting that Iraq has been working with international financial institutions to strengthen its economy. These partnerships often involve recommendations for fiscal discipline, transparency, and structural reforms. Any significant change to the currency would likely be coordinated with such institutions to ensure consistency and credibility. For viewers who follow Iraqi Dinar updates closely, the most practical approach is to focus on verified developments. This includes official statements from the Central Bank of Iraq, government policy announcements, and credible economic data. While discussions and opinions can provide insight, they should not be taken as confirmation of future actions. In summary, the long-standing discussion about removing zeros from Iraq's currency remains part of the country's broader economic reform agenda. The renewed attention in late 2025 reflects ongoing interest, but does not indicate immediate implementation. Political developments, including the extended election process, are likely contributing to delays, as stability is a key requirement for any major monetary change. In the short term, expectations of rapid or dramatic changes to the Iraqi dinar should be tempered. The focus remains on stability and gradual progress. In the long term, there is potential for reform, but it will depend on a combination of political resolution, economic performance, and institutional readiness. As always, staying informed through reliable sources and maintaining a balanced perspective is essential when following developments related to the Iraqi dinar. If you found this analysis helpful and want to continue receiving responsible and factual updates, make sure to subscribe to the channel and like the video. And as a final reminder, this content is for informational purposes only and should not be considered financial advice.